Welcome to the Three Artmigos, a podcast with Ed Suarez, Adrian Webb, and Paula Talesian, where we talk about art business, mindset, and more. Hello.
Hello.
Today we are going to talk about haters. It seems to be a big topic online. There's a lot of polarization that happens in the online space, and rejection is a huge part of the artist's life. Through this episode, we should be able to help our listeners have a plan and maybe feel a little less alone in how to deal with these people. So, have you had haters in your entire career of showing up online?
Ooh, let me have a little think now. Has anyone said anything slightly less than complimentary? Yes, I'm going to say, yeah, pretty much from day one, and it still continues. Although it's it's not so much these days. But then again, I'm not entirely sure whether I take that much notice of it these days. It's a weird thing. It's like so many experiences in life. If you have them often enough, they can desensitize you. So now when something if something particularly bad or way below the belt, or something you would think there's just no way a normal human being would say that kind of thing, why are you getting so worked up about a drop of paint on canvas? When that happens now, I don't even tend to notice it. and and I don't want that to be the, well, you must have had so much, that's why you're desensitized to it. I don't know. I can't measure how much I've had over the years. But I think so much of this comes down to how much notice you take of it. And surely every fight there is, you stop a fight instantly, not by walking away from it, but not giving it any attention, So we just don't give it the attention these days. That's not to say historically we haven't on occasions had to go back, uh, just because you can. We live in this world of the internet where it's an open platform and you don't really have a lot to stop you from doing a lot of things. So if someone's going to say something against you, sometimes I might have a go back. Does that make me feel any better? Yeah, at the moment, at the time it does. Yeah, makes me feel a lot better about it. Or if you're going to shove shit at me, pal, I'm going to shove it back. There you go. You don't like that, then, do you? People don't like it when they get a taste of their own medicine. But generally speaking, the best way to extinguish the hate of these people is not to pour any more fuel on the flames. But I say on occasions, it's a little bit of fun to have a go back. So yeah, we do get hate, and we do get negative comments. We've had it on email, and we've had it certainly on YouTube and on social media, and I think that's basically it, isn't it? That's a
Well,
better place
it is.
to get it these days.
Yeah, it's always like that. The one thing about it, I think, initially, obviously, when we started up the YouTube channel in anger, I should say, when we really started to put videos out there, you would get somebody who would say, "Oh, that's not art," so on and so forth, and you'd kind of take it to heart because what you want to do when you first start out, especially like I said, in anger, you want to please everybody all the time. I think after a while, you realize that you can't please everybody all the time. So some of the people, some of the time, it's still, I think initially it was that you try to ignore it. You can't. You go back. You start becoming that sort of keyboard warrior and say, right, I've got something to go right back at them. Then you read what you're about to put out there and you go, maybe I shouldn't do that. But we did sort of fight our corner for a while by saying, well, this, and this. And then after a while, you think, right, how much is this affecting what else I get on with? And it's affecting more than it should be. So therefore, tell you what, we'll take it with a pinch of salt. And I always the analogy I can get is like a policeman, a cop. A cop in his daily duties will come across somebody speeding, somebody who's a bit drunk, somebody who's angry at the world, so on and so forth. And they will vent everything towards that cop. And initially, I'm sure when he's a fresh new cop, he may take that to heart. But after a while, he gets used to that. And he's like, well, I'm here actually. I know that I'm going to get that kind of abuse. So therefore, I'll just cut that part of it out and know that maybe it's not personal at me. Maybe there's something going on with those people. And that's kind of where I think for me, that's where I ended up. I'm like, maybe there's something that's going on. And a lot of times now, it's almost sort of sending something back saying, look, is there anything we can help with? Here's our email if you want to get in touch. And maybe that person might want to get in touch because of something that they're getting angry about and just vent to somebody. Maybe that's what they want to do. But it just happens to be that they laser focused it on saying, that's not art, that's rubbish, that's a pile of crap, and you shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be doing that. Whereas in actual fact, they're saying, I'm in a bit of a rut. I'm not sure what to do, so I'll vent it out on another artist.
That makes sense. Understanding that the potential hate that people can send your way is not a reflection of what you're doing, but a reflection of where they are mentally and what they're going through is, I think, really important because then we take away the ownership of being responsible for their emotions. So a lot of us are really taught from a young age that we are responsible for smoothing things out, paying attention to how we impact the people around us. What will people think if we show up in a certain way, authentically or whatever? And then that extends to, okay, maybe the haters have something to say. Maybe I should stop making my art. Maybe I shouldn't show up. Maybe I'm doing things wrong. But everyone I've talked to will stop and say, like, "What have I done wrong? How did I not show up well?" They'll take it into themselves. And what we've been teaching in foundations and also to, our clients is don't take the ownership of the hate. Don't take the ownership of, somebody else's anger. What they don't like about you may be something they don't like about themselves. What they are saying could be a reflection of maybe they hit every red light on the way home. Maybe they went to the grocery store and they were out of their favorite brand of cereal. Like, we don't know what's going on in somebody else's life, and we don't know what might seem minor to us might be seem major to somebody else. So taking on board somebody's, enthusiastically negative feedback is not worth it. One of the privileges we have as artists who show up online in our marketing is to decide what our path is, regardless of what other people might think of it, regardless of the judgment. And so learning how to be anti-fragile and not taking it on board, I think, is a really key thing. But you can't think your way to not absorbing the hate. You have to decide as it's happening, I'm not taking this on, and do it with practice. But for anybody who's listening to this and thinking, my God, I'm not going to show up online with my art now because it sounds scary. Generally, the hate is this very small amount. Like, would you say it's maybe 10% of your comments? Or maybe in the beginning? Maybe there's a lot less
Yeah,
now?
I
I don't
mean,
know.
yeah, probably even less really, because obviously of the numbers that we were seeing sort of through YouTube and the views and everything else, that it was a very small percentage. But one of the things, and we've touched on this before, is that if somebody is sending you negative comments, that's not art, so on and so forth, then the one positive you can take from it is that somebody's paying attention to you enough so that they are sending a comment, whether it be negative or positive, that somebody is paying attention to what you're doing. So in the back of your head, you might be saying, oh, well, she was nasty to me in that comment, so on and so forth. But what you should do is replace that with, but they're paying attention to me, which means that I must be doing something for them to pay attention to me.
Mhm.
Yeah, good point. I've seen that on a few occasions, particularly with Facebook. So I'm going to say this is probably going back about a year ago. Had a oh you know it was when we were moving into the studio we're in now, and I did a long wander down the corridor and sped it up, and it was just all the paintings waiting to go in to the studio. So I just took this great big long video and just sped it up, and it did really, really well. It you know, had a, within a week had a 250,000 views on Facebook. Fantastic, happy days. And that had a high proportion of hateful comments, way in excess proportionally to most other things that were put out there. And I think that's just because it was numbers. So if a reel or a short story or a post got 25,000 views, you might get one or two people going, yeah, but is that really art? Or is that it? Or my 5-year-old could do that. But because it's had 10 times that, of course, you've got to then work the numbers. You get 10 times the amount of people who think they know better, which is fine. I never responded to any of them. So numbers and ratios are quite an interesting game to play. But what was curious about that, and this is the point I was going to make, one person who really, really took offense to all these paintings in the corridor shared it on their feed and it got another 5,000 views on top of it. So somebody actively offended them so much that they put it on their own timeline, and 5,000 people on their timeline decided to watch it. After that, I didn't track it because I thought, well, if all those 5,000 hate it as much as him, well, it doesn't matter, does it? I got 5,000 more views. So happy days. There's a bonus.
Yeah.
Because
That's
that night, I'm not going to go to bed thinking, well, everybody hates me, I might as well jump off a 4-story building. I didn't think like that because I'm still the same person. I'm still going to do what I'm doing. And is it really that much of a problem if someone thinks it's a pile of crap, or did I do it blindfolded? I think that's what his comment was. Did you pay all these blindfolded? And I'll have to try that one day. You never know. I can
Yeah.
really well. So, and that was that. And I just found that incredibly amusing that someone's hate turned into an extra 5,000 views. Happy days. You go for it. Share it and tell everyone how horrendous this is. And I'll sit back and skip happily all the way to the bank. It's not that because I didn't earn any money off it, but that's beside the point.
But it does come down to there are two ways around this. You can either sit in wherever it be, your studio, your house or whatever, and make your art, sculptures, whatever it be, you make that and it just stays there and nobody ever sees it and that's it, and you're happy with your lot. But if you want to make this a career, you have to put yourself out in front of people. There is no other choice. You have to do that. Otherwise, you can never sell anything. And you are going to get the people that love it and you're going to get the people that hate it. But you have to get it out there. So be prepared that somebody is going to hate it and somebody's going to love it. Because again, it comes back to you can't please everybody all of the time. It's as simple as that. So you will get this, and don't take it to heart. Because, the key to it is, and I'm sure a lot of creatives out there will understand this. You'll get somebody who says, I absolutely love that. I love what that is, and I love everything about it, so on and so forth. And you scoop that up. You swallow that down and you're like, yeah, that's the best nectar ever. And then the second somebody says, oh, I really don't like what you're doing, suddenly to you, that's you're being forced to drink poison. No, you're not. It's just their opinion. You go, okay, thank you. You don't have to drink the poison. You really don't.
That's actually a really good metaphor. You don't have to drink the poison. Usually what people say is you shouldn't take on anybody's opinion, good or bad, but we are community-based beings. I mean, primates thrive in communities. And so we do take on the feedback because our primitive brains go, okay, if somebody doesn't like us, we might be thrown out of the community, we're gonna die. So hate equals we're all gonna die, that instant primitive response, right? We've evolved, but our brains haven't quite caught up. So that's I think why a lot of people take hate seriously. But I think also because there's a lot of artists who want to try to do things right as they're venturing out into selling their work and they're asking around, am I doing this right? Is this okay? Do you like this? I'm noticing online on Reddit and Facebook and in groups and things like that, artists going, well, if I go this route, will it hurt my career? If I go that route, will it hurt my career? The art world is big and it's whatever you define it as. If you want to go and do the museum and gallery route, then you need to pay attention to what the so-called rules are around that. But for most of us, we don't care. And we want to define our own path and choose how we show our art, where we show our art, and what we're doing. And that does require deciding that people's feedback isn't relevant, especially friends and family feedback. Although hopefully they won't give you hate, they will certainly do things to keep you safe if they care about you. And that, to me, also has the same level of impact as hate does. Because if your family goes, well, that seems like a really big event to be part of. Are you sure you're ready? They're holding you back just as equally as if somebody is hating on you and saying, if my 5-year-old could do that, why are you applying for this event? And that kind of thing, right? Like there's certain degrees or definitions of hate that we need to accommodate. So in your venturing out as an artist, Ed and 80 joining you in the business, did you come across family or friends that maybe said, "Are you sure? Do you think you're good enough?" Was there anything like that that might have had some impact or maybe slowed you down a bit?
In a word, no. If there was, I didn't pay any attention to it because I just had this single-minded focus. Well, this is what I'm going to do, and there was nothing that could dissuade me otherwise. My family's very small, smaller these days than when I first started. But no, there was no. I don't think they were that bothered, to be honest with you. which I don't know about anybody else listening or watching. Do your families get involved? I don't know. It'd be interesting. Drop us a comment if they do. But from my point of view, I almost got the "oh, that's nice" kind of thing without them really understanding what it is I was doing. But then, in the great scheme of things, I live 50 miles away from where my family is based. So as long as I'm still alive, I guess that's the most important thing to them. Other than that, nothing really gave them any cause for anything plus or minus to be said about what I was doing. On the odd occasions, I got a visit, or like my mum came and what have you on a couple of occasions and saw it. She was always very proud. Oh, this looks lovely, doesn't it? And all this kind of top level stuff, which was all very nice and very sweet. But no, never. I never got any particular feedback, nothing negative, nothing massively positive on it at all. It just is what it is. This is what I decided to do for a living.
Yeah. My mum loved everything that Ed painted and thought it was fantastic. She had her favorites, things like that. She would always be positive about it. Some of my friends and family, which I'd ask or show them something that we'd done, normally would get a fairly honest sort of amount of feedback from that. In that, it's again, it comes down to certain people like certain colors. I know what Ed's favorite color is. I know what my favorite color. Everybody knows what my favorite color, purple, yeah, is. Yeah, so it's one of those things where I'll be drawn to something that's more purple and I won't be. But most of the things that came out of it would be fairly honest, I would hope, reviews. I do understand that bit as well, where you get that thing, say you get that Christmas present that you can't upset somebody. "Oh, that's nice. Thanks." And you're like, "Oh my god, what am I gonna do with this?" That kind of thing. So sometimes it can be negative if you get too much of that. If you get, "Oh, well, that's nice and that's nice," it doesn't give you an unbiased opinion, and that's why I've always said to, "Look, be frank about it." And I suppose I'm kind of lucky with my friends, family, that they will be, you know, brutally honest about something, which is a good thing because that doesn't, so on and so forth. But the other one, sort of the other side of it, where it says, where they sort of in passing go, well, that's nice, which means to me that they're not particularly paying attention to it, or not particularly bothered by it. So again, it's a kind of thing that you don't need, and it's a very, very difficult thing. But of course, unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way, with our years of wisdom, we've managed to kind of worm out what's right and what's wrong when we know that somebody's just giving that passing. And you will get it on Instagram, on all social medias, that somebody says, "That's nice," sort of almost in passing. Then you'll get that somebody who goes into great depth to say, "That's fantastic, love the way you move, that the colors around there," and so on and so forth. And then you'll get the other end of the spectrum, that sheer hatred. "I hate everything you do. You'll never do anything right ever, ever, ever." And it's basically tuning that so that you kind of know what to look out for and what to push to one side. And don't get me wrong, that the only way that comes is to, over the course of years of doing it. And again, you have to be out there. You can't just keep it in a cupboard somewhere and say nobody's ever going to see this unless you're happy with that. If you're happy to just paint, hide them in a cupboard, nobody ever sees them, nobody ever doesn't go out on social media, nothing like that. If that's your lot, great, fantastic. But most of us will be doing this, because it has to be a living.
Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of artists are afraid to show up in the beginning, 'cause I'm not gonna generalize for people who've been out there and showing up, for a while now, but in the beginning, they're afraid to show up as who they are, standing for something, standing against something, sharing their core values. Core values is a key exercise that we run through with our, students in the academy, because you have to know who you are in order to do authentically, and understand that marketing is a sifting and sorting, right? We want people to walk away. We want people to unsubscribe. Maybe we don't want them to leave the hate comments, but we want them to know that we are not for them. And so instead of worrying about, okay, somebody doesn't like me, I better chase them and bring them back and try to be more appealing to them. We want that our students, but we want artists in general just to go, okay, we're not right for each other. I was telling you guys before we started recording the podcast how we got actually a I wouldn't call it a hate email, but certainly a passive aggressive one, and I'm pretty sure the person might have been a little drunk when they wrote it. And I just said to them in response, "You know what? It sounds like we're not right for each other." And that was it. I'm not interested in trying to convince somebody that I'm right for them or that we're right for them. If we're not right, we're not right. Go find somebody else. It's the same thing if you show up as an artist and somebody says, "Well, you're too much." Um, yeah, be more. Don't be less. Be more. Get rid of the people who think you're too much. You guys do the world's biggest spin table and the world's first drip painting and the world's whatever. I'm sure you get pushback on that, or to some degree. But have you ever stopped and said, "Gosh, I think I should be like, the world's second largest drip painting," kind of thing, and the world's smallest spin table. Like, do you get pushback?
I Well, I think part of it, and I was gonna sort of ask this question, and I'm asking this question to everybody, is that as an artist, if you are struggling with this sort of thing where, the comments that come in are negative and it's too much for you, at what point do you break out of that? At what point do you say, "I'm gonna push beyond that"? For want of a better word, you're here and you're very timid and you don't really wanna move forward. At what point do you go, "No, enough's enough and I need to break out of it"? And it's one of those things that, to be honest, half the time I will say, "Right, it is the world's largest spin table. It's the world's largest spin painting. Prove me wrong." Because I'm actually wanting somebody to go out there and go, "Actually, what I did is I spent 6.5 hours studying, and you're not the world's biggest spin painting. In actual fact, it's this person." I go, "Great, gotcha. Because you spent 6.5 hours on that. You spent a lot of time proving me wrong, which means you're interested in me."
I want to just mention something about comments, and that's that it strikes me now, just as I'm sitting here and we're chatting about it, that comments, good, bad, indifferent, they are opinions, aren't they? At the end of the day, it's someone's opinion about something. If you walk into a restaurant and you don't happen to like key lime pie, but you served key lime pie, you're going to say it's disgusting and revolting, but it might actually be the greatest key lime pie that's ever been baked. But if it's not your thing and you don't like that, you're never going to be able to appreciate it. And art is no different. Just because someone's got an opinion, good or bad, it doesn't necessarily mean it's right. And
Well, that's your opinion.
that is my opinion, isn't it? But it doesn't mean it's right. Any opinion on the earth who says it's right, unless it's backed up by something, it is just an opinion. And opinions are based on the lives that we've led from zero to the point we're at now. That's why we wear the clothes we do, live the life we do, treat people the way we do, because that's based on our life experiences. So when we stand in a museum or in front of a screen and look at somebody's painting or sculpture, all of that comes into play as to whether we like it or we don't. It's just how people choose to express that. And some people choose to express it with expletives and with hatred. That's all. So I think I tend to look at it that way. It's just an opinion. It just happens to be words strung together. If you let it affect you, then you've been suckered into whatever's going on in their life. Let's face it, we don't want any of that.
Yeah. I still don't think it's easy. As you've said, Paula, that people take it to heart because it's like, "Oh, and it's difficult to shrug it off." We totally get that. We totally understand that. But it's that thing about, we're here to say to you that you are gonna get that, and I'm not saying just become emotionless to it, but you do have to be a little bit thicker skinned with this kind of thing, that there will be the extreme to it. And all you have to do is, you see the world today and how extreme some people can get. Just look at the news and you can see just how extreme it can get out there. So there are going to be kind of those written extremes that you're going to get. Don't look at everyone and say, "Right, I'm going to change what I do or how I do something on that person's opinion," because like Ed said, it's just an opinion.
I was thinking back to when I first started showing my work, and I really hesitated to show up because I was worried about negativity. So this is more than a decade ago. And I didn't get very much negativity, but the people who did comment negatively, and I think in the first few months, it was just one or two, like it was a really tiny amount. I would go to their accounts and see what they were doing. If they were telling me I wasn't doing something right, my painting wasn't right, I didn't mix my colors right, I go and take a look. And they had no business commenting because they weren't doing the work. They weren't going out there and sharing their art, or they would share something and it would just be like a half-assed whatever and not at a quality. So they weren't even valid. So it made it easier to not take their opinions on board, to not try to change myself, to do what some yahoo who's never shown their work in a large venue or sold their work globally or whatever has never done. Couldn't do the work for themselves. They're mad at the people doing it. Where you show your work as well makes all the difference. So when you were talking about the video that went viral and gave you 250,000 views, you obviously went beyond the people who typically like your work because the algorithm goes and finds the next group of people and most likely like it and the next group of people and so on. And when you go outside of that pond or that ocean, because your views are obviously quite significant, you end up with people who've never seen you before, who may or may not be inclined to appreciate your work at all, or it's the first time or whatever. And so they may not like it. And so what I always say is you can be or have the most amazing bacon in the world. Angels weep over it. It is so incredible. It changes lives. But if you end up in a room full of vegans, they will not like it. They don't give a shit, right? It's not for them. So if you end up having a piece that goes viral, and I've been viral a couple of times myself, you can't convince people to like you, understand your narrative or anything. They're going to make an opinion. They are going to broadcast that opinion. It keeps pushing things to be more viral. And you just have to hang on for the ride and maybe not pay attention because it could be vegans being offered bacon, and there's just nothing you can do.
Mm. I was just thinking back when you were saying about that we did have a YouTuber that put several sort of negative comments in, and I think in actual fact did one of their own videos talking about what we did here as far as HQ, and that as far as I was concerned, it wasn't art, this, that, and the other. And then I'm going to say it was probably maybe 2 months after they contacted us saying, "Oh, do you want to do a collaboration?" So somewhere along the lines, we went from hate what you do, that's not art, this, that, and the other, to 2 months later going, "Hi, do you want to collaborate?" I think it was when COVID hit, so I think because things stopped and shut down, we didn't actually do it. But that's how it went. So we went from somebody basically slagging us off, for want of a better word, to wanting to collaborate. So there's the other side of it. That poison suddenly turned into nectar, you know. Left for long enough, it fermented into a really nice nectar. Thanks very much.
Do you remember the I don't know who it was. I think it had a female name who every single video
Yes.
left a negative comment.
Yes, I
Now
do.
this was going on all through COVID. So in the height of the lives and whatever other videos we were putting out, there was always one individual, and I actually genuinely can't
Yeah,
remember.
I
No
can.
matter what you did, was always negative from the very start to the very end. Live stream, helping other artists. You put a video out where you're creating something or whatever the subject matter is, would find at least one or two comments to leave that was always negative. So I don't know who this person was. And we tried to reason with them. Look, I'm really sorry it's not for you. You know, do you want to communicate outside of, I
Yeah.
think it was YouTube. So do you, out of the YouTube environment, do you want to give me your email address? What's going on? Even I think AD one time wrote this really long piece going, we understand you know, there might be something going on with you, but is this really worth all the hate? Why is it every single time you make a negative comment, we don't really understand? You know, it's generally been well received. If you've got suggestions for us, can we turn that into something where you can suggest something you want to watch? Or if this isn't for you, why do you keep watching us? That's the whole
Yeah.
thing here. Why? If it's so freaking offensive, if you hate this so much, just go and watch something else, or hate on somebody else, or if you're going to hate on us, then do it across 100 other channels to help you make you feel better. I don't know. In the end, we had to ban them from the channel because there was no reasoning with this person, zero. And we tried. We put human effort and time between both of us into this person for jack shit. So,
Well,
bye, you're banned.
yeah.
That's it, gone.
Part of that was that as we replied to those negative comments, those negative opinions, it spiraled deeper and deeper. So we would sort of answer something, or we'd kind of rebuttal back with something that actually made sense probably to them. So they'd go deeper to something else and we'd reply back to that, and it deeper to the point where this was getting so strange and erratic that that's when we said, look, it's time to ban this person, because it was, we'd taken away every excuse. We'd said, look, if you don't like, please, by all means, you can go and watch something else somewhere else, so on and so forth. And it was just like, there's no reasoning. There is no reasoning whatsoever. So all we do is just take that person away completely, because it had spiraled out of control to this point where it was just, you'd look at it and go, what are they talking about? And it was because they were talking utter nonsense by this point, because every other obstacle had been taken away. So that's, that's the extreme case, I'd say.
Yeah, and we found most people, if they leave a comment and let's say one of us decides to reply back, that will normally be it. They've had their 2 minutes of attention and they'll go on to the rest of their lives. So it's rare to find people who then come back again. And even after the first bit of hatred, the second bit isn't normally as hateful, because bizarrely, and I know this is going to sound so almost ridiculous to say, you've almost built a bit of a rapport. I know it's based on hate, but you're at least conversing with another human being. And if you can make a conversation, you have a chance, and I only say a chance, at actually being reasonably polite, even if that person still hates what you're doing or hates you or your attitude, whatever it is, at least you've got a conversation. So you kind of stop ending knowing that you've ended it, at least talking as adults and human beings. So with this one, there's nothing you could do.
Hey, and
there's nothing you could do.
Here's the thing, and that I used to find quite hysterical. Obviously, when you put out a YouTube video, initially it goes out, or used to go out, at a slightly lower quality. I think they've adjusted it a little bit. But normally our videos would go out in sort of 720, then jump to 1080, and then go to 4K. Whilst this was still almost processing the between 720 and 1080, they'd be putting comments in. They would be literally almost one of the first people to watch the video to try and get that comment. And then I'm like, so they must be literally waiting for the second this gets uploaded to put a comment in, which again, it's that thing about, so you care enough to be one of the first people to actually watch this video. So again, there's something about that and how obsessive that was. So yeah, it's quite odd. And you do have to try and sort of understand all of that, the good, the bad, and the indifferent in between. So, and I say, the only way is with practice, put the stuff out there, see what happens, and just move forward.
I always like to think about haters as maybe they're having their underwear on too tight. They're having a bad day because they are just a little uncomfortable. Maybe it's riding up, whatever. And so they had to put a bad comment out. And that made it a lot easier for me to take it. But I want to pause here and say, for anybody who's like, I'm never putting my art out there now, this is the minority. We're talking about, if you get 1,000 comments, maybe 10 of them would be not great. It's a very small amount. Artists feel deeply because they connect deeply with their art. We're painting or creating art with our hearts, and we're putting it out there, asking people to look at it. You can't just create your art and go, okay, I don't care about it anymore. I'm going to put it out there and I've got this rock solid shield around me. You're still putting it out with a level of vulnerability. Over time, that goes down. You become anti-fragile, but it's still something that happens. So when you get those hateful comments, that rejection feels personal. And that's where you have to sort of do the mindset work of not making it personal. They're not paying your bills, but they are engaging with your content to help it go further. So you can thank them for commenting. You can say, I'll take that on board. You can say, as I used to do, I'm so sorry your underwear is on too tight. I literally would reply that. But I would never, ever respond back and defend myself, ever. Because I've found that when I've tried to convince people, like when I've gone viral a couple of times on Twitter before Twitter became evil, it wasn't great, right? People had their opinion. They weren't going to change their mind. They made a snap judgment based on 3 seconds of seeing something about me, and they just ran with it. So I learned, just don't bother defending myself. I just continue to show up. Their kerfuffle will die down, and onward we go. And anybody who's truly problematic, their comment gets deleted and they get blocked. And then there's just nothing else. But yes, the people who make sort of generic hate comments like that's not art. I am so sorry you're having a bad day. I hope tonight your pillow is cold and your bed is comfy. And then just move on. They can't respond to it. How do you respond to something like that,
No,
right?
that's it. I mean, one of the things, me with my analogies again, So it's something like maybe you're an actor. So say, for example, you're Bruce Willis. Most people know who Bruce Willis is. Now, all depending on when you started to watch Bruce Willis, it might be that you either love or hate Bruce Willis. Now, I remember, what was the program he was in with the
Moonlighting.
Moonlighting. So way back to the very first time I ever saw him, and I thought he was this cheeky guy. Oh, he was sort of a bit of a ladies' man, that kind of thing. And then growing up with Bruce Willis and his character. But you might have grown up where he was in a film that maybe didn't do so well, or something that wasn't for your liking. You might then continue going, well, I don't like Bruce Willis and I don't like his acting and I don't like what he does. So it may be that somebody has found your art at the point where maybe it's something they didn't like. And from that point on, they don't like anything you do. But if they'd have seen your artwork 3 months prior and seen something, they might have gone, that's, I love that. And then gone, I love everything that you do. It's that kind of thing. So, you've got to imagine, I'm sure that somebody like Adam Sandler is not going to get upset if 500,000 people across the world hate everything that he does. He's not going to cry in bed about it. I'm sure he's laughing all the way to the bank. But, it's that kind of analogy. You're going to, if you get out in front of a lot of people, there are going to be a lot of people that don't like what you do, and there are going to be a lot of people that like what you do. So it's the same sort of thing. Otherwise, we'd never have an actor ever doing anything because they'd be too upset or too afraid that somebody's going to give them a negative review. And there's a million actors out there, so we know it works, Get out there, show yourself, got to take the knocks.
We often talk about our comfort zones. So when you put yourself out there, you have to step out of your comfort zone. Comfort zone is where our ability to figure out who we are and what we're capable of goes to die. A comfort zone, you're wrapped in bubble wrap, everything's safe, everybody around you likes you know who you are, and nobody challenges you. When you step out of your comfort zone, you may find also that facing people who may not immediately like you can be challenging. So maybe they're not hating you. Maybe they are following or they're asking some questions that feel a little bit sharp. So they're not hating you, but because you're feeling vulnerable, the questions are feeling a little bit sharp. One of the things that we have to understand is that it does take several what they call marketing touches or touch points for people to get to know and like and get comfortable with your art or with anything. I remember when my kids were being introduced to various foods when they were very, very little. And I would tell them that you have to have 3 bites. The first bite's a surprise because you don't know what to expect. What does broccoli taste like, for example? The second bite the second bite, you might sort of go, "Okay, I know what to expect. I can now decide if I like it or not." And the third bite will be the definitive one. It's the same thing with art. So you may come across somebody doing the kind of large and dramatic and colorful pieces that Ed does, and, you look at it and you go, "Well, that's crap." But maybe you take a second look and go, "Actually, there's some depth in it," which is why I'm pretty sure you guys do all the micro and macro views and close-ups and everything else, let people take a second closer look. And then the next touch point would be, "Okay, do I like it or not?" So when people are asking the sharper questions that maybe are not hate per se, but questioning something because they're not sure, you have to take a deep breath and step back and go, "What are they really asking? And is my reaction because I'm vulnerable and scared and afraid of being rejected, is my reaction fair to the question or to the point they're trying to make?" And then you can decide whether to engage or not, whether to block or not, and all of that. But stopping and not having the knee jerk reaction, I think, is also really important because we can escalate or de escalate a comment section based on how we respond. And that 10 seconds of asking yourself, why am I feeling this way, is critical to preventing an issue.
That's a good point. And whilst people own their ability to type on a keyboard, we also own our ability to respond to it. So I guess it's just how you want to respond. It can be tricky sometimes. I can read them sometimes, and in my head, I immediately want to say something, and then I get on with my day. So they just, oh, well, forget it. And it's interesting because I know that you, speaking to you many years ago, Paula, and hearing you say, well, if someone's got a really bad comment, you can always remove the comment or just remove the person. And that's a good way of dealing with it, because it means historically then you don't go back into any of this information and have to reread that time after time. However, the reverse I found is also true. If you leave it, other people who do like your work get really on it with that and think, no, hang on a minute. Paula's work is the most amazing thing ever. I shall not let her be treated this way. And then they come back and start replying to the haters by going, well, actually, and they're fighting your corner. And it almost pains me to say it, but this is what engagement is. There's no such news as bad news. Isn't that a great, it's a headline, isn't it? It's a phrase used in the media industry for the last 100 years. But for me, I guess it's almost or very similar to applying that to comments you get in a comment section somewhere. Any kind of comment is at least something. And as Adi says, it's showing you time and attention. If someone can't verbalize that in a way that you like, doesn't really matter actually at the end of the day. They are giving you attention. Something has stirred them enough to pull them away from their life and make them sit down at a keyboard or type on a screen. That's a pile of shit. Do you know who the winner is? You.
Yeah.
Not them. That's you. You've won.
Yeah.
You've gone, I'll ring the bell of joy, ding, ding, because I got a reaction out of somebody.
Yeah.
It may not be the one I won, but I've got a reaction. I've got them to sit down long enough and be so angered and outraged by what I've just posted online that they've stopped their entire life and told me about it. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah. And it even comes down to when we've spoken to clients about it. So something will go into a dining room. So a piece of art will go into a dining room and they'll invite their friends around. Some of their friends go, oh, wow, that's incredible. And you can see so much detail and so on and so forth. And you will get somebody who says, well, I don't see it. That to me doesn't, and then you'll get somebody who says, I absolutely hate it. And it's this thing where around a dinner table, people are discussing that piece of art, good, bad, or indifferent. So if you think about it, if you are making art, you're probably going to have some of your clients and buyers that say, I absolutely love it. But when their friends come round, they go, well, I hate that. So, but you don't hear that. So it's that same thing. It's only the fact that somebody's actually written it down somewhere saying, I hate that, that suddenly you're taking it to heart. You don't know about the person who's bought something from you, who's had that conversation with their friend saying, well, you tell me the reasons why, and so on and so forth. But the great thing is, they're talking about it. Like I say, they're interacting, they're having passion about it, good, bad, or indifferent. They're having something, some kind of reaction to it. And that's what art is all about.
Which is a really good point because we do want some kind of engagement. Now, most artists don't want the negativity, but you're right. It is in how you see it, which comes back to our theme of everything, mindset, how we approach things, how we approach situations really does affect the outcome and impact the outcome. So when we stop and examine how we're feeling when somebody interacts, when we don't do the knee jerk reaction, when we understand that rejection is a part of being an artist and being an artist that's visible, when we decide if you're going to do cold outreach, so to try to find new clients, you're reaching out to potential collectors, and depending on your business, you guys reach out to a lot of corporations. You choose to go for the no's rather than the yeses, so that every yes is exciting and every no is just, I was expecting that, instead of making that no that you get back, that rejection, a truly negative thing. It all comes down to mindset. So what am I talking about 100 no's? So this is something that I covered in foundations towards the end as part of the bonus, and it was how to do cold outreach. So we're not going to tell you how to do it in this podcast because you have to sign up to foundations to get it. But one of the things that artists don't like to do is reaching out to potential clients. We define who your client is and who they're likely to be, and then how to go out and contact them and make them aware of your work. But everybody goes to do their cold outreach by going, "Gosh, I hope they accept me. I hope they accept me. I hope they accept me." And when they don't, it feels like a stab in the heart. And so the mindset part of it is approaching it like, "Okay, actually, I want to get 100 rejections in a row." And generally, you don't. You don't. By the time you hit 100, you've already had a few people go, "Yes, actually, I'm interested," or "I'd like to know more," or whatever. But because of that mindset trick, you end up not feeling that stab when it comes to being rejected. So when we talk about putting your art out there in terms of, yes, you're going to get some negativity at some point, may not be straight away, but as you grow your audience, you're going to get some negativity. You want to do the same mindset trick when it comes to people commenting. as you both have said. We wanna look at it and go, "Thank you for the engagement. Thank you very much. Appreciate you." And if they're real people, because they could be bots in this day and age, but if they're real people, just saying, "Thank you for your opinion," or "I hope you have the best day ever," really, really messes with
That
them.
that is one that we use, is have a nice day and put a smiley face or a wavy hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just completely stops people in the tracks because they don't expect it. If I'm gonna dish out hate, I'll wait for that idiot to come back and tell, "No, you have a nice day, all the very best."
Yeah. You
Shut it down. Just shut it down.
we've sent things back to like you said, where you just say, "Thanks very much and have a nice day." We've done those where it's literally shut it down. We've said, "Thanks ever so much for you sharing us with that with us. We hope you're gonna have a great day, no, we are," and so on and so forth. And I think you almost wanna see them sat there slamming that desk and boiling over because they haven't got the best of you. And that's probably one of the great things about it, when you know that they haven't got the best of you, when you've sorted it. I think it's really good when that happens.
Yeah, we know from studies that were done a few years ago that a lot of the people who are legitimate human trolls, well, not literal trolls, but the people who troll actually have psychopathic tendencies or antisocial tendencies. And so they thrive on getting hate back. They thrive on the rejection, but they also thrive on creating chaos in other people's lives. So the minute you take that on board and understand that, it makes it easier to do the have a nice day and shut them down. And just move on and not take anything they say on board, because that's how they get their shits and giggles, is by making other people's lives miserable.
Yeah, feeding their addiction, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and the world is amazing in so many ways because we have so much diversity. Diversity in opinions and thoughts and how we engage, and the filters we have as we engage with other people and how we interpret other people's, impacts on our lives, even in passing. Like, it's really fascinating, and I almost think that hate is a part of that diversity. I mean, it's not a nice part, but it's a part of the diversity, because if everybody agreed with everyone and we all had a way of dressing and a way of showing up that was acceptable, then it would be really boring. We wouldn't have giant, expressive, abstract artworks, and we wouldn't have people trying new things, and we wouldn't have the innovations we have creatively by the people who decide, "I'm not gonna do what other people want me to do. I'm not gonna show up the way that's expected. I'm gonna define who I am and show up authentically." And if somebody doesn't like it, well, that's diversity. That's how we allow humans to show up as they are, with their backgrounds, with their traumas, with their, biases and everything else. It's actually a really good thing. So when you step out of your comfort zone and run towards being visible and maybe being a little bit afraid in doing that in the beginning, because I'm sure you guys aren't afraid of showing up now. Oh, I had a lot of fear for showing up in the beginning as well, in terms of just like, will people like me? Will I be accepted? Well, whatever. But as you do that and embrace that not everybody will like what you make, not you won't like everything you make either, and people are going to engage with you from their points of view, that's an incredible thing about being human, about being part of the species as a whole, that we are a part of this giant, bubbly mass of different beings built from sort of the same basic mold, but details are all different, and the opinions are different, and the filters are different, and I think it's pretty exciting.
And as a final thought, we found that the more you tend to put out there and that with more frequency, something quite extraordinary happens. You actually build on the people who like you. So, whilst you will always get negativity, the pool of people that support, like, and encourage you continues to grow the more that you put out. And the longer you carry on doing this, the more that pool of people grows. So, whilst you'll always get something negative thrown at you at some point or another, every time you show up, every time you post, you have the potential of building that network around you of the people that matter. And the bigger and more important that becomes, the less the hate filters in. That's
Yeah,
what we found.
absolutely. Who doesn't want a fan club, eh?
Yeah.
I certainly want an AD fan club. You know what I mean?
They'll all have to wear purple trainers.
Absolutely, yeah. So you all got to wear purple trainers, or purple somewhere, purple bow tie or whatever it be, but it's got to be purple somewhere. But yeah, it is that, what you'll actually do is you'll get that group of people that enjoy what you do, like what you do, so on and so forth. And that as that sort of grows larger and larger, those negatives get pushed sort of further and further away. So they realize that, that the people that love what you do is a greater bunch of people than those people that are negative. They'll probably move on to the next person. It's the unfortunate thing. They probably will find that next artist. But let's face it, if we can hopefully teach everybody that, you know, don't worry about it, and here's what you need to do about it, which we can, then eventually they'll just go away and, just implode, or I don't know, go and shout at pigeons or something maybe.
I think this is a great point to wrap this episode up on is you get more of what you focus on. And if you focus on building your community and building your following, people generally don't hate watch or hate follow, generally. They certainly don't hate buy because they don't want to support you. Uh,
Yeah, I really hate what you do, but can I have 3 of them? Yeah.
exactly.
I
Exactly.
hate you, but yeah, I want that one and that one. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So people will wander off eventually, right? Because you'll be focusing on the people who do love what you do and love how you show up and want to see the world's biggest or world's smallest whatever that you're doing next or the world's most amazing whatever or however you show up. Right? They will want to engage and interact with you more and you will have that almost like that shield of knowing, okay, 3 people didn't like me, but these 99 people absolutely fucking adore me. And of those 99 people, 10 people are probably stalking me, but that's okay. That kind of thing? Like, it's just it's you can focus on oh, you'll
Yeah.
for those who are listening, 80 was looking around for the stalkers. I'm actually right here. So but yeah, it's you get that sort of reinforcement too of that your community actually cares, you are doing something right, you do matter to quite a few people, and so the relative importance of what matters and who matters obviously balances out in favor of the people who are positive and who like you. So before we end things, is there anything else that you want to add to this episode? No?
No, I think it's been pretty in depth. Like we said, it's that the key to this is you do have to come out of your shell sometimes, we know. And let's face it, you again look into the world and see how many people that were too scared or too shy who came forward and suddenly have become something incredible. And there are thousands of stories. Trust me, you're not going to be the only person who's a little bit, oh, I'm worried about getting negative responses and everything else like that. You're not the first. You won't be the last. It's as simple as that. You gotta be out there. You gotta be out there.
And when you step out in your courage, it doesn't mean you have an absence of fear. It just means that it's more important to you to step out and show your work
Yes,
than it is to, be as
absolutely.
yeah,
That's it. It overcomes you to the point where you do that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So hopefully this has helped. But in my experience and in your experience, we know that more people are looking for artists and good art and interactivity and engagement and are positive about it than negative. The trick is just to get out there, hold your nose, jump in and swim and just keep going
Yeah,
and keep going and keep going. And it's worth it. You would say it's worth it?
Oh,
absolutely.
all day long.
All day long. Excellent. Awesome. So that wraps up episode 4 of the Three Artmigos. You can listen to us on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon, and wherever your favorite podcast apps are. We release new episodes every Saturday UK time. It's late Friday North American time. And subscribe, like, share, follow, comment, and engage, but only send the hate to Ed and 80. And we'll see you. We will
No.
We will see you in the next episode, and if you wanna learn how to work with us, go on over to suarezart.academy today to see how we can work together. And I can see if I can make a go at it, and I'm not having a good day. I started with a really good point, and I've just completely lost it. I'm not having
Hey, you're not the only one.
Hey, at least you started with some good.
Yes. Yeah, that's
God,
right. I haven't made any
I
yet.
You feel the point, just leave me. Like, it just walked out the
Yeah.
door.
We saw it, yeah.
Evaporate, does
He's
it?
just got into an Uber and got off for a couple of
Yeah.
beers.
So where's he going? Yeah. Yeah.
We just I had a good one too. Oh, okay, where was I going?
Was it a Corsica though? Was it a
I
Corsica?
thought it was a corner.